What is up, everybody? I'm No Lex Given here with your afternoon snap, and today we've got a brand new featured location in the game. Krakoa on turn 5 takes over and plays both players' cards for them, and I wanted to see what was stronger, Krakoa or Agatha Harkness. Now, in order to actually test that out, we're going to have to ramp into Agatha, so that's what we're doing in this game. Electro can do it, or Wave if you play it specifically on turn 4. Otherwise, if you play Wave on turn 3, Agatha will just come out on turn 4, and then Krakoa obviously will have control as Agatha is no longer in your hand. But I was curious on the coin flip, if you have Agatha in your hand and Krakoa as one of the locations, which one would win? Here's a pretty cool card that my opponent plays, Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Actually hadn't seen it yet. It was last week's brand new card. But if you play that on turn 4, well, then Krakoa might make you play some cards into it or might make your opponent play some cards into it. Kind of a coin flip either way. Just thought it was kind of fun to showcase here, but this was the game that I also found out that Krakoa beats Agatha Harkness as we drop the Sandman into Teenage Warhead rather than play Agatha this turn. So kind of unfortunate that Krakoa does always take precedence there. It does mean that you're not going to be guaranteed to just drop Agatha. Here's a game where Agatha hits the turn 3 wave. So we're going to be looking at a turn 4 Agatha instead, which will allow me to talk about something else that I think is kind of good with Agatha and means that it's good with Krakoa while it's the featured location, and that's movement cards that cost 5, Captain Marvel, and Vision. Both of these just give you some flexibility because it's not really Krakoa that's deciding where these cards go. In the case of Vision, you'll be able to move it on turn 6 if you're not playing an Agatha deck, because Agatha will move your Vision. And then in the case of Captain Marvel, she will be able to move herself to potentially win you the game. And there's the retreat. This game I thought was funny because we play Electro into Death's Domain on turn 3 as Agatha, which is really good. She could have played Lady Sif even, which we got from the hub, but instead she plays Electro into Death's Domain. Really lucky. And I think if I wanted to, I probably could have snapped here. Now, I didn't snap because I'm already infinite for the season, and I didn't want my opponent to retreat because I'm just trying to grab content. But I think if I bluffed playing a Galactus deck here, then I would probably be able to scare my opponent away because Death's Domain is just a really good location, and we had the Electro into Death's Domain, which is just even better for us. But instead, I just decided to play it out, and we'll see what happens here in a second. We also have Krakoa, and once again, my opponent is going to Reality Stone into Rickety Bridge, which is an even better Galactus location because you can Spider-Man there on the 5th turn. Though it is a Krakoa game, so a little bit weird in that capacity too. You'll see that Vision moves over from Krakoa. Krakoa and Agatha will always move Vision if they can, just something that you might also want to know about. And then I should have snapped here, and I actually do, but I snapped too late that my opponent wasn't able to try to retreat to it. So it wasn't really a bluff, it was just a bad snap. I was trying to bluff, but unfortunately it just meant that I wound up giving away more cubes. Agatha played herself into Rickety Bridge, and because I late snapped, I actually can't retreat here. My opponent juggernauts me out of the Rickety Bridge, which is kind of bad. It means that now they win that location, and then Agatha will be able to win me the hub, but because I have Vision and not Captain Marvel, I lose. And I just had to showcase this game as well. We've got some information from Kang on the final turn. Both players can only play one card thanks to my Sandman, and my opponent chooses to play a Squirrel Girl, adding additional power to both Nidavellir and Washington, D.C. We've already played Agatha this game as well. We waved that out on turn 4. So in turn 6, we actually get to make a play, which isn't super common with this deck. And let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to pause it right here. Let me know what play you would make to win this game. And I'll show you what I did here. I played Magneto into Washington, D.C. That's going to move Cosmo and Dracula both into Washington, D.C. as well. My opponent will have 4 cards in hand at the end of this turn after they play their squirrel, and I'm hoping that Dracula discards something small enough that Magneto is still able to take it. Now, my opponent is still going to be able to tie up Nidavellir with the Squirrel Girl. And Dracula is going to discard the Infinite, so unfortunately, I lose. However, let's rewind the turn one more time, and I'll talk through an alternative play. If I didn't see this until right after it was, I had to look at this game for a few seconds afterwards, and then I realized what the actual play was. If I had played Magneto into Monster Metropolis instead, I could have pulled in my opponent's Cosmo, canceling their Squirrel Girl, and then it doesn't matter what Dracula discards. I win Nidavellir because there's no squirrel, and I also win Washington, D.C. for the same reason. Just missed it in live time. Wasn't expecting Squirrel Girl to have such a huge impact, but unfortunately it did. The deck list that I was using today was kind of like a big Agatha deck list, and I never put it on the screen because I'm not actually really recommending this. I just wanted to try it out for fun to see if Agatha or Krakoa would win in the heads-up matchup. But there are some ways to make Agatha and Krakoa both a little bit more consistent. One of the ways is by actually making your curve higher by playing a bunch of really expensive cards. It will actually limit the amount of choices that Krakoa can even spawn for you. And on the flip side of that, you can also play aggro Agatha. And decks like these ones that I'm showcasing on the screen right now just use a bunch of one-cost cards to empty out your hand and make it so that Agatha and Krakoa both have the least amount of decision making that they have to do. That increases your chances of being able to play something like Blue Marvel, which oftentimes becomes a 50-50. It's just Blue Marvel or the card that you've drawn off the top of your deck, and that can allow you to flood the board and add a bunch of additional power and steal some wins. So there you go. Those clips are probably wrapped up by this point. So that is going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Luck's Given. Peace.